In today's video, we're going to be talking about what in the world is a 1, 2, 3 block and what are some of the common uses for them. A 1, 2, 3 block is a block of metal, obviously, that measures 1 inch by 2 inches by 3 inches. Sometimes these have holes that are bored into them. Sometimes you'll find a 1, 2, 3 block that it's just totally solid. It's just solid metal, and both have really a ton of uses in the woodworking shop. One other thing to note about a 1, 2, 3 block that's really important is that it's perfectly square, so that gives it even more use in the woodworking shop and on your woodworking projects. Before we jump into this video, I just wanted to tell you guys and gals that this is not a sponsored product. I paid full price for this pair of 1, 2, 3 blocks. I just love the tool. In fact, if you've watched any of my woodworking videos on making cutting boards or charcuterie boards or how to build a desk, all of those videos, I believe I have used a 1, 2, 3 block. They're super handy. And so I would like to just tell you a little bit about what they are so that when you see me use them in future videos, it'll make sense. One great use for 1, 2, 3 blocks is for tool setup. Many times I will make sure that the blade on either my bandsaw or on my table saw is completely 90 degrees from the working surface, from the table of the tool itself. Also, if I want to, on my table saw, make sure that the fence is set a certain distance from the blade with my table saw, if I want to ensure that the fence is an exact distance from the blade, I can set up my 1, 2, 3 block to make it 1 inch from the blade, 2 inches from the blade, 3 inches from the blade, 4 inches from the blade, 5 inches from the blade, 6 inches from the blade, and you get the idea. You can buy more 1, 2, 3 blocks and continue the process if you want to. Another use for a 1, 2, 3 block is if you are calibrating your table saw fence. Sometimes the ruler on the table saw fence can be off by a 32nd or even a 16th of an inch. So you can simply put your 1, 2, 3 block in between the fence and the blade and then adjust it to be exactly an inch on your ruler. One more thing that I find myself doing a ton with 1, 2, 3 blocks is simply using them as little squares. A speed square, some measure 6 inches, some measure 9 inches, and a lot of times those are simply too big to put inside maybe a small box or to check a small corner of a project. But a 1, 2, 3 block is much more manageable, and so you can set it inside of a box, and since it has some weight to it, it can make sure that those two boards are square. Another use for a 1, 2, 3 block actually comes in the shop safety realm. Now, the setup that I have right here on the table saw is a huge no-no. You never want to make cuts, and I used to do this when I was starting as a woodworker, that involve my miter sled and my fence, or my miter gauge and my fence. Why is that? Well, it's because when you're making this cut right here, after I cut off the workpiece, what it can do is get pinched in between the blade and the fence and kick back. In fact, maybe not most, but a lot of table saw injuries that happen, it's not when someone gets their hand caught up with the blade, although that's certainly very dangerous. Many injuries happen when someone's not wearing safety glasses and they run a piece through the table saw and a giant piece of, in this case, black walnut is shooting back at them and hits them in the face. I mean, that could really injure you. So the solution is very simple. Let's say that I wanted to cut this piece of black walnut 12 inches long. Well, instead of setting my fence to 1 foot and then running it through, that's using the miter gauge and the fence. All I have to do is set my fence to 13 inches, 12 inches plus 1 inch, put my 1 inch side of the 1, 2, 3 block here, use it as my fence, but then when I run the workpiece through, the 1, 2, 3 block stays here. And so now my workpiece is not touching the fence, and I can safely make this cut with the miter gauge. Like I said in the open of the video, these 1, 2, 3 blocks have holes bored into them, and some of these holes have threads. And the reason that they have this is so that you can actually bolt 1, 2, 3 blocks together to form different jigs or different shapes or different thicknesses. I've really never done much with this, so really I could just do all of these things that I've showed you in this video with a solid 1, 2, 3 block. If you have made jigs with 1, 2, 3 blocks before, I mean, I can think about like a right angle jig. You know, if you want some corners, bolting 2, 1, 2, 3 blocks together like this would be really, really handy. So if you've done any work like that, let me know in the comments. I would love to learn from you about the different things you use 1, 2, 3 blocks for when you bolt them together. So some have holes, some are solid, but all of them, I think, are a great tool to have in the shop. When I bought these, they were about $30. I think the link that I'm leaving in this video at this time of recording is gonna be about $30. So to me, it's worth the investment. I probably use these on almost all my projects. Hey, thank you so much for watching this video. If you've learned something, if it's been helpful for you, I'd love it if you could hit the like button. All that does, it's free, but it helps other people find the woodworking channel that I have right here, Ben Grimsley. Also, if you have not subscribed, I would love it if you subscribe. My goal is to help you become a better woodworker. Sometimes we do projects on the channel. Sometimes I'll come and tell you about a tool, and none of these tools so far have been sponsored. And if I ever sponsor a tool, I won't sponsor it unless I really believe in the tool that I am telling you about. So all the tools you hear me talk about on this channel, I'm gonna be honest about, and because I don't want to, you know, encourage you to buy something that's not helpful for you. So that's kind of what we're about here on the channel. If you like these types of videos, subscribe. There are always more coming. Hey, thank you guys so much for watching. Talk to you soon.